Okay, one more time as we get started. Smart School Choice of Florida Department of Education Office Independent Action Parental Choice. 325 West Gainey Street, Suite 522, Tallahassee, Florida 32399-0400 850-245-0502. FloridaSchools.org. Office Independent Educational Parental Choice 2011. CSP Granting Training Implementation. The Charlie Birkin and Laura Pond and Heather Harrell. These multi-year projects and maximum program performance period of 36 months, comprised of three budget plans: planning, program development, max 18 months, implementation, max 12 months, implementation 2, max 12 months. The three budget periods combined may not exceed 36 months, and the budget period may not overlap. The items purchased was specified with the funds must be met within the specific budget period. Frequently asked questions. My district disburses the funds, reimburses. Is there any other way to receive my grants? Can I use the backup in an emergency fund? Do I have the whole project period as specified in an award letter? Should I complete the planning phases before the end of the project period? When paper due, what paperwork do I need to send my grant specialist before the end of each project period? Can there be a break between the phases of the grant? Each charter school is required to utilize the sponsor as official agent. Distribution of funds varies from one district to another. Contact your sponsor or district for the further details. Each charter school is required to utilize the sponsor funds as official agent. The grant recipients will be required to submit submit receipts and inventory reports to the sponsor for reimbursement. Spend your funds quickly. Approved expenses are only things allowable. As per your budget, you have already allocated these funds. You should not be using the entire project period. Possibly the budget bonus to the ending of the earlier, not guaranteed. The Henry Flagler Charter High School timeline. Time left, time used, implementation 2, implementation 1, and planning, grant months, 36 months total. Planning of the 12 months in blue, implementation 1 through 8 is in pink and remaining in 10 months, and the in green is implementation 1 through 6 months. George Washington Elementary Charter School timeline, same thing. All of this must be done before the project period end date. 1. Itemized expense report. 2. Rough draft of the budget reviewed by the grant specialist. Documentation of the objects that have been completed, signed the Department of Education 150-101. Original signature forms arrived at the grant management. Project period paperwork. All this must be done before the project period end date. Itemized expense report. Rough draft budget review of the grant specialist. Documentation objects that have been completed, signed in the Department of Education 150-101, original signature forms and arrived the grant management. Two original signatures of the Department of Educational Form 150. The project period of the planning phase from May 1st, 2009 to April 30th, 2010. Implementation paperwork arrives at June 25th, 2010. In break of the grant timeline, avoid the situation. Answer. Implementation paperwork should arrive in March 1st, 2010, not less than a month before the project period end date. Track items as you spend. Itemized expenditure report. A budget narrative. When completing the Department of Education 101, the budget narrative form, the Department of Education 151 budget amendment forms be specific in column 3 to include the category, use grade, room description, quantity, and price per unit. Project funds must be used to activities that directly support the accomplishment of the project. Purposes, priorities, expected outcomes. Expenditures must be consistent with the applicable state, federal laws and regulations and guidance. Deal or no deal, allowable or not allowable use of funds. For budget amendments, grants project recipients shall submit a project amendment request, signature to the Department of Education, description of the reason for the budget revisions. This budget accompanied with the budget amendment narrative that the Department of Education 151 lists only the budget items that have been being amended by the Green Book section. Florida Department of Education Comptroller. Department of Education 151. This is the Florida Department of Education budget amendment narrative. You can find it at Florida Schools Information, Charter Schools, Charter General Information, and the some of the implementation budgets. Florida Department of Education Office Grants and Management. Florida Department of Education of the 325 West Gainey Street, room 332, Tallahassee, Florida 32399-0400. Original Department of Education 150-101. 151 should be submitted to Office Grants and Management. Make sure to review the budget of the grant specialist with your grant specialist before you submit it. If it's required, submitting documentation for all your expenses. This includes payroll records, written contracts, invoices, receipts, tax exemption, travel vouchers, requisitions, use Department of Educational travel forms. Travel expenses paid for the grant funds must be documented on the appropriate travel forms. Authorization, reimbursement receipts for hotel transportation, airfare, auto rental, glass mileage, personal car use, meals, and state rate at a state rate of $36 a day. Prorated meals, if any meals are indicated in registration. Travel authorization reimbursement also available on Comptroller website. Travel information sheet available on Charter School's webpage. Develop strong financial policies related to the budget approval, amended procedures, separation duties, cash controls, capital assessment management, payroll, personnel administration, market analysis, the per Edgar 3 estimates, guidance, development, monitoring Charter School's financial practice available Charter School webpage. Planning implementation 1. Sign the Department of Education 150 project amendment request original signatures Department of Education 101S budget narrative form. Uh, Signed copy of the charter contract, signed copy of the lease agreement of the facility, proof of governance of training, itemized expense report, and planning the implementation one condition of the board, certified governance, training, conflicting information, procurement policy, random lottery policy, admission, no articulation agreements, objects for phase one. Implementation one and implementation two, watch the project period and end date, 12 months of implementation, rough draft, budget, the grant specialist documentation, objections that have the deadline at the end of the phase two, the itemized expense report of the implementation one funds signed the Department of Education 150 project amendment requests and Department of Education 151 budget amendment forms. Project award notification, Department of Education 2, project award notification of project periods. Items purchased within these funds must be made with a specified budget period. Attachments J of the original grant application objectives. For example, for school with a formal governing board prepared to fulfill this at the time ending of the phase. Governing board. These are governing board ones. Attachment J. Reporting tips. When reporting progress towards grants objectives, be sure to label each of the document with specific objectives that supports and verifies. Documentation must be submitted to the grant specialist, Office of Independent Education, Parental Choice, Florida Department of Education, 325 West Gainey Street, room 522, Tallahassee, Florida, 32399. 0400. To expedite transition between phases and avoid time-consuming errors, make sure that you are using appropriate forms. Charter School use of only email, fax to Department of Education forms to the grant specialist review prior to submitting them to the sponsor. Make sure to give yourself plenty of time well before your project end date. Items categorized. Capital objects. All 600 object codes. Materials and supplies. All 500 object codes. Use of equipment. All items purchased must be used in the school receiving the grants of K through 12. Even the CSP funding expenditure expires. Disposition of the equipment. When original equipment acquired by the CSP grant is no longer needed, the disposition of equipment will be made specified by the Department of Education Green Book, Section 5. Items documented with the serial number, other ID, description of the item, funding of the source, percentage, acquisition date, cost, room, location, condition, disposition date, and conducted annually updated condition, inventory date, room, location, disposition date, must research any unusual findings. All items purchased with the grant fundings must have an individual label attached that includes district purchase and federal CSP grant funds and an individual item number corresponding to the inventory list. A comprehensive board agenda, accurate minutes are essential resources. Board minutes of the nonprofits. Best practices include organization, name, time, location, board attendance, present, absent, quorum, identify any people making presentation comments, preceding meeting called to order, minutes to the prior meeting, amended, approved, report, special presentation, any action taken, announcements, next meeting assignments. Reports, presentation, report of the director, principal, report of the parental organization, update of the school performance, discussion, budget, recognition of the student achievement. If the board oversees 2 or more schools, these reports should address each of the school individually. School name and change contact district and the contacted Department of Education Information Accountability Services. New changes of the principal contact your grant specialist ASAP. Physical address of the school grant specialist, Florida School website, FloridaSchoolChoices.org, information Charter School. Are you receiving CSP news, principal and primary contact management company board members, all school future webinars, questions and answers.